What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, and I host the only online broadcast in the world for fathers and dads that is sponsored by Dove Men Care, also co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization. And I am the board chair for the Global Food and Drink Initiative, which is a multimedia not-for-profit that showcases Blacks in the diaspora. They're doing their thing in food, wine, and travel. So we got a little bit of a different look today. And sorry for the technical hiccup at the beginning. Software is for some reason not 100%, but we're going to work it through. Don't have our production team today, so we're going a little bit different just for this week. But Black Canada Talking goes on strong. So if you don't know about Black Canada Talking, it's a place where we showcase Blacks in a live. So let me get it right. It's a live online event that provides Black Canadians an opportunity to give their takes and POVs on stories of importance to them. And also we focus Black Canadians that are doing their thing, doing the right thing for Black Canadians and for Canada. And today I have a person that I know a little bit, named Oneil Knight from the ACBN Canada. And he is, unfortunately, can't see him because of phone challenges, I guess, data, etc. But we do have him by voice. Brian, how you doing?
I am fantastic. Let me know if the voice is coming in okay.
Your voice is loud and clear, clear. Ryan is also involved in many things. One of them, he is the co-founder of ACBN, and some people may or may not have heard of that organization, Ryan. So can you give a little background on that organization?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going into our 4th year of operation, and really the genesis of it, I've been running a social enterprise called Detailing Nights for over 10 years. When it got to a point that I was hoping to, expand the company, franchise it, and we actually decided to license it, but expanding across Canada and into the US, I was looking for Black-focused business organizations to really help scale or help me just with guidance on that process of expansion. And there weren't any that I went to that were able to help. So we brought about 7 entrepreneurs together. We said, we asked the question, is this an entity that we could create for Black entrepreneurs that need the support? And thus ACBN, the Afro-Caribbean Business Network, was born. And initially it started out with, info sessions and networking events, and also that one-to-one consulting. So we would sit down with an entrepreneur, figure out what stage they're in today and where they want to go, and help them build that blueprint to scale their companies. So now it's shifted a bit more to capacity building. We found that a lot of entrepreneurs needed to get to a certain baseline to be able to take advantage of a lot of the opportunities that are out there. And COVID put a really bright spotlight on it because there's a lot of initiatives coming out from the federal government and even the provincial government. But if your company didn't have foundational elements in place, you wouldn't qualify for those grants or for those even loan programs that they had. So we really wanted to make sure to help companies, like I said, get to that baseline, which opens them up to various capital opportunities like angel investment and VC investment, initial loans, grants, all that type of capital injection. You have to present your company in a certain way to qualify. So it's not just that there's Black-focused programs. We want to be able to open entrepreneurs to the big pool of money. But so that's kind of where we're at today. We started our own microloan program. So we're able to loan up to $2,500 to entrepreneurs, looking to get their first inventory or get additional inventory or inject marketing in, or like paid marketing into their strategy. And also what's the next thing that we do? Our marketing agency. Yeah. So we work with entrepreneurs to audit their online presence and then help them create a strategy to increase their sales online.
You memorize that?
As I talk, it comes out. It flows. It's like, yeah. What do we do? I should write it down. Actually, that's a good point. Actually, that should be on our website. Forget writing it down.
Yeah, you should know you got so many things on. You should know that. And everyone just checking in, Black Canada Talking. A little bit of, I guess, a no frills version today. Unfortunately, our production team is not available. And we have Ryan Knight from the Afro Canadian Business Network. He is in transit to Afrofest in East End of the Greater
Yes.
Toronto area. So unfortunately, because of, I guess, reception or whatever, we can't see him, but you can hear him. So we take what we can get. Ryan, let me ask in regards to Black Canadian businesses. What was the state of Black Canadian business before pandemic? And now we're about 14, 15 months in. What is your thought on the state of Black Canadian business 15 months after the pandemic was called?
Oh dear, that is a deep question because now, as I'm thinking about it, there isn't really a official mechanism to even track that kind of metric. Like the
Hmm.
question opens it up to now, what, like exactly like you said, so where were we before the pandemic started? And now 15 months in after it was announced, where are we? And so when we don't have that kind of starting line, we're just in this ether of, hey, some people will say they're a lot better. Some people will say they've completely been decimated and their company has folded and they went to work at McDonald's. Like, so there's such a large spectrum, but that company that folded before the pandemic, they might not have been strong. So if that company wasn't strong before the pandemic started, really it just fast forwarded the inevitable. But if that company was strong and then had a dip, was able to bounce back, that shows a lot of resistance. Or if it was a company that wasn't strong, but now they were forced to go online and digitize their business, and now they're stronger because of it, they might look at what happened with the pandemic as a blessing. So as I'm talking, I'm thinking of, and it was something that we were actually going to do during Black History Month next year, is that Black entrepreneurship scorecard to say what organizations, and I always point at ACBN and point at myself, what are we saying that we want to do, and how good are we at actually executing that? And I think prior to this, nobody really looks at organizations and says, okay, let's see what they promise that they're going to do. And then let's see if they actually executed that and give them a score. Because if I get that report card, I can now say, okay, in these areas, we said X and we only executed to this level, or even this is what the public thinks of our organization and where we need to be stronger and fix that narrative. If we're not tracking those things, then people are going to have varying opinions on what we do, and we really have nothing to point to. So that report, and as we're talking now, I would love to hear from you. What are some things that should be on that report card? What should we be tracking based on promises made? And yeah, what should we be scoring based on our organizations that we have already?
I think not even in regards to the money aspect. I think scorecard things that businesses should be evaluated on, from my opinion, is do you have governance?
Right.
I think I've said it a few times on some of the conversations I've been on over the last 14, 15 months. I'm very concerned about the lack of governance in a lot of Black Canadian organizations, for profit and not for profit. And people
True.
mean, what do you
Yep.
mean by governance? I mean by governance things like having annual general meetings, AGMs, filing your taxes, making sure your financials up to date. Like if you go into that organization or business,
Mm.
are their books easily accessible? Like
Right.
the number of organizations I heard about that haven't had AGMs in 2 or 3 years, and this is before the pandemic.
True. Yes.
All
And
those
things that
there's
are foundational. So that's like you're not
Yeah.
even asking for something out of the realm of like normality. Like those are things that just should be done automatically.
Do they, like, and again, depending on the size of, do you have HR policies?
True.
Do you have, what is your banking, which is it's a part of the financials, but your banking, do are you, whatever space you're using, is it a lease, or is it a rent? Is it your own property? What is the,
Right, ownership.
what is the 1 year plan? What's the 3 year plan? What's the 5 year plan? What is the, do we have success? Do you have succession planning in place? Do you have an exit plan?
Something I would add to that too is around procurement. Like, who do you buy things from?
Yep.
Because I'm looking at,
Yeah,
and man,
well,
I'm
no,
gonna get in
but
trouble.
no, go ahead. But procurement,
Well,
to do procurement, you got to have the funds to do it. That's even before there.
true. Well, that's fair, and I guess financials comes into that. Like how, it's almost like your viability. It's like, are you actually operating a like an entity that is sustainable? Because that's where that
Sustainability, yeah.
money, right? Like, where are your funds coming from, and is that a sustainable model? And
There's
you'll look at
something.
uh
Just let me, if I can interrupt for a second. In the banking industry, they have something called the stress test.
right.
Maybe what organizations like yourself and others that do this is doing a stress test on Black organizations.
True, and like developing what that would look like. 'Cause I know like the stress test in the housing market, it's like, would you operate if things change? Or would you be able to kind of service the mortgage if interest rates were to rise? So,
Yep.
and COVID showed that stress test. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, donors,
It's the
donors
ultimate.
stopped donating. It's like, could you survive? And a lot of them couldn't.
So yeah, so the COVID was the ultimate stress test.
Absolutely. But
It's,
that's where, because we feel like, I don't know, it showed us that communication was so important, because we started doing more info sessions about the funding and the different resources that were available. So it's like, that stress test is, okay, what would you do to pivot when a certain funding source dries up? Like, do you even have a fund development plan? We've been doing these like nonprofit leadership workshops, and that was the first session that we did about actually planning out how you're going to raise funds for your organization. And I get calls all the time about people starting new nonprofits and they're looking for grants. And in the workshop, the facilitator mentioned that grants should only be like 20 to 30% of your full funding plan. So now, if you're calling and trying to ask a person for help to get grants, and that's your only option, you're literally setting yourself up to fail. And so that's where we have to have more conversations, like exactly like you said, that stress test, because you have to have multiple sources of revenue, even if you're a nonprofit. A lot of nonprofits I talk to have no sources of income
no, they
except
don't. They don't.
for
They don't. They don't.
a donation. Yeah, so that has to
And
change.
another thing that, from where I sit, and I'm not no guru, but I think if you're a not-for-profit, you should strive to get your charitable status number.
Yeah, I see. I would push back on that, because charitable status is, it comes with a lot of governance, so you can't be
It
as flexible with things that you want to do. But it does open you up to more funding options.
Well, it's one of those hit and misses, right? If you
Yeah,
it does open you up for more money. The only thing is you have to have an infrastructure on how to handle the money.
right. Because with us, we just partnered with a charity, and we said, hey, we can do things that you can't do. You can do things that we can't do. If we work together, then ACBN doesn't have to go through the process of trying to become a charity. You've already done that. And that's another piece that we've been talking a lot about. And oh man, the law of diminishing returns, like auditing the organizations that exist so that we can see where there's redundancies. Like, we might not need all of these organizations that currently exist, because people are duplicating the same services where if they combined, they could actually do more. You know, they say like when 1 + 1 = 3, like two horses can pull more weight than each horse individually. So that's something that I feel like has never been done in the Black community, to really see, one, what everybody is doing, so mapping our assets, and then two, seeing where we could actually collaborate and combine forces so that we can do more. Like the more organizations we have that are all siloed, it's actually gonna it hurts the community more than benefits the community at a certain point.
Okay, so we have someone contributing commentary-wise, a gentleman you may know named E.J. Holder.
Yes, yes, good to see you, Eldon.
He's saying, very valid and timely point. There are so many organizations hanging by a thread. He also says a good mix of charitable organizations and social enterprises is an ideal mix for Black communities. What are your thoughts on that comment?
And that's exactly where I was going, because ACBN, we started a social enterprise, and that has helped us become self-sustaining. If we had decided to go the charity route, based on because we had looked at it and we were looking at like what type of charity we would be, and like there's I think 4 or 5 specific definitions of what you want to execute for charitable status. So if we had chosen any of those 5, it would have been a lot more difficult for us to then start the social enterprise that is keeping us sustainable. So instead, we would be begging all the time for donors and donations, and going to foundations. And sure, that might be an easier route for grants, but then you saw in COVID, donations and donor funding dried up to a large degree. So we would have been really struggling to keep our doors open. And then if we decided to do that social enterprise, it might have been blocked or put in jeopardy our charitable status. And I'm a big proponent of social enterprise. As I mentioned, Detailing Knights is a social enterprise that I've been running since 2009. So I see the value in being able to generate your own income and revenue, and then using the profits to then do community work. Because the
So,
youth entrepreneur, oh, go ahead, sorry.
no, go ahead. Keep on going.
Well, I was just going to say the youth entrepreneurship program that we created was self-funded. So we didn't have to rely on government grants to get it off the ground, but then we were able to get a grant to amplify it. But when the grant ended, it was like a 3-year program. No, actually, that one was 1 year. So we got 1 year of funding. After that funding ended, we were in a better position to keep the organization going and keeping the program going without the doors having to close because the funder changed their mind. So that balance of, and that's why we partner with charities, so that we can have kind of best of both worlds. You can tap into foundations and donations through the charity partner, or you can be out there operating a viable revenue generating social enterprise, and funds are flowing through that way as well.
For those who are not familiar, can you define what a social enterprise is?
Yes. So social enterprise falls somewhere in the middle of the spectrum when we're talking about nonprofits and for profits. So for profits on the, let's say, the right end of the spectrum, they typically draw their funding and revenue from donations and grants. And then on the far left of the spectrum would be for profit enterprise. So capitalism, purely profit driven, trying to make as much as you can for the company and shareholder value. So maximizing shareholder value. So in the middle is where you see an entity that has social impact that generates revenue. And then the revenue helps to sustain the social impact. So there's like varying degrees. There's like nonprofits that start social enterprises, and then there's for profits that start like community work. So it all kind of meets in the middle of social enterprise.
Okay, good. Thank you for the definition.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that you have mentioned is about the whole aspect of collaboration. Do you feel what's the word? The environment in Black Canada when it comes to businesses and not that are profit and not for profit, has it shifted to more collaboration since last year? Do you see more efforts for organizations to collaborate with each other?
Yes. So I've seen like specific evidence of that. when so they had the funding for the UN Decade of African Descent. There was 25 million promised to the Black community, and you saw three Black organizations become the intermediaries for the Supporting Black Communities Initiative. So it was a grant for Black focused nonprofits to be able to like increase their capacity. And I think there was an infrastructure portion of it as well. So those intermediaries being at the table, I believe that was Black Business Initiative in Nova Scotia, Group Transet in Quebec, and then Tropicana in Ontario, working together to administer the grant funding. And I believe they got $100 million extra to boost that program. So seeing that was great. The Black Entrepreneurship Program, you saw with the loan fund. Sorry, so the Black Entrepreneurship Program has three divisions: the Ecosystem Fund, the Black Loan Fund, and the Knowledge Hub. So within the loan fund, you saw five Black focused organizations come together to create the FACE Coalition. And the FACE Coalition is the one that's managing and adjudicating the loans and going to be dispersing to the Black community in partnership with BDC, Alterna Savings, and Van City in BC. So that type of collaboration is great to see. And now it's the question, okay, how can we do this better? Because my pushback would be, and again, it might be unfair because it wasn't possible, but why only work with five organizations when it's a national program? At minimum, you should call all Black focused business organizations to let them know what's going on, because then you're going to get the question, why did you only select five? Like, and then if you're not willing to give the answer, you're going to have that criticism. So going forward, and that's where I'm not sure who follows me on LinkedIn, but there's a new grant that was announced by Minister Ng and her ministry, talking about the Canada Digital Adoption Program. And so previously there was digital revitalization programs in partnership with FedDev. And so you saw programs like Digital Main Street and the Toronto Region Board of Trade that helped businesses get online. So Digital Main Street was helping businesses start or build their Shopify stores. So the Canada Digital Adoption Program is something similar where you can get a $2,400 micro grant. So the business would get the micro grant, and they would get partnered with like a youth that is technology, like tech savvy, to help you grow your business online. So all that to say, the call for applications has now gone out to the nonprofit community to put together, like to be an intermediary and disperse that program. So disperse the funds, the micro grants, and also like operate the program. So I called out to all the Black focused business organizations to say, this is a project that we could now collaborate around and put in a joint application, because the funding is up to $45 million. So that's more than FACE got to manage their program. I think they got 3 million of the 30 million to manage 291 million. So now we have a chance to collectively apply for a grant that would get the community up to $45 million. And this is the secret that I revealed on our show, The Morning Vibe. We already have the blueprint of what they're looking for, because a submission and a proposal was put in before this grant was announced, talking about how to duplicate the Digital Main Street program. So all the hard work is done. The only hard work that's left is for us to get to the table and talk to each other and say, what are you doing with your organization, and how can we fully resource you so that you could be able to help us administer this program? And when I say us, it's the collective us, because it's not ACBN putting in an application. I believe there's 8 organizations already that signed on to do a joint application, and my target is 50. I feel like if we can get 50 organizations out of the 100, that would be a win. But the over under in the office pool is at 15.5. So I'm curious to get your bet on how many Black organizations we can get on board with putting in this application together.
Okay, we're going to take a break and come back. Hold on. We got another. Actually, we'll come back. Mr. Holder has some more comments. So we're going to take a quick little break. You're watching Black Canada Talking, broadcasting live July 18th. We're going to come back and we're going to start talking about, can these or will these organizations want to work together? We'll come back.
All right.
Keep it locked on Black Canada Talking. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, and it is Black Canada Talking time. Black Canada Talking is a live online event that provides Black Canadians the opportunity to give their takes on stories, POVs that are of importance to them, or we showcase Black Canadians are doing their thing.
The real aspect of what goes on behind the walls or behind the fence is a totally different persona and a totally different picture.
There was just a big sense of relief when we finally got there.
We have to realize that everything we do is going to have an impact on probably a lot of people we don't even know.
One of the mandates of the CBC is to reflect Canada back to itself.
Not a lot of sustainable long-term movement that will affect economic change.
God bless, peace well, keep the faith, and walk good. We are back, and we have Ryan Knight in transit to Afro Black
Yes,
Canada.
yes.
We have Ryan Knight and family. Let's put it that way. So let's continue on to just catch up on context. I can think of 10 to 15 organizations that will be impeccable partners on that digital adoptional program. And Mr. Holder wants to know how he can get in touch with this genius. Genius now.
Who's
Mr.
that?
Knight.
No, not me.
Mr. Holder, you see, Ryan, you have left me behind. I am glad you allowed me to tag along.
Jeez. Listen, it's a collective genius. That is what I realized. When we start doing more things together, the genius amplifies. So I am happy to be part of that collective genius called the Black community, 100%. And we are doing a session on July the 28th. So Eldon, I'll get the link to Dr. Vibe and we'll post it. So it's also on LinkedIn if you look for the recent post that I did. But yeah, I'll be able to send that to everybody that wants to join. And again, I'm asking if you know of other Black organizations that would be a good partner, because I don't know everybody. I've actually started a spreadsheet that I'm looking for help to finish. So yeah, I would love to at least win the office pool that will get more than 15.5. If we hit anything close to the 50, we have completely changed the conversation in our community, I would believe. So what is and I'm trying to get the clarity on this application. What is it for? Yes, so the program specifically is to to operate a program that helps entrepreneurs grow their businesses online. So there's two streams. There's one stream where it's just called Grow Businesses Online. And then the second stream is infusing technology into your business. So they open the first stream where they're going to be able to so the person that's selected as an intermediary, and they're going to be selecting a few because it's a $1.6 billion commitment to the Grow Your Business Online part of the program. Okay. So, and that can be in chunks of 45 million or something less. So all those intermediaries that are selected to now run the program will be in charge of deciding which businesses would get the $2,400 micro grant, and then they would be in charge of placing students with businesses to help them grow their companies online. So those are the two mandates that the nonprofit would have if they were selected to run the program.
Okay, thank you for the clarity. I just want to make sure. Now, this opportunity is for not-for-profits only, correct?
Yes. So the nonprofits can apply to be the intermediaries that would run the program, and then they get so they pretty much are the ones that disperse money to the entrepreneurs. So they'd have to do the outreach to Black entrepreneurs, and it's not just for Black entrepreneurs. It's actually Canada-wide for any businesses that need help growing their business online. So the intermediaries would help the selection and then dispersing of the micro grant to the entrepreneurs.
Okay, so the intermediaries do the decision on who gets funding.
Yes, exactly.
And the funding is a maximum of $2,400.
Yeah, what's written in the application guide is the micro grants are for up to $2,400.
Okay. Why is this a good opportunity?
It's it's one of those puzzle pieces. The program itself, I thought that what Digital Main Street did, they're currently not doing. One sec. Who is calling? Yeah, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So yeah, so Digital Main Street, you would be able to get help to create a digital marketing plan, and after you create your plan, they would be able to give you $2,500 to action the plan. And they had a list of vendors that you could use to hire to help with your online marketing. And also they had videos that you would watch so you get comfortable with digital marketing and the different terms, and then you get the money. So all those things combined helped businesses increase their presence online. So I feel like it's kind of a duplication of that, but that's kind of one stepping stone. So after that, you'd have to kind of amplify it, but it'll get you so far, but it's not like the silver bullet or anything.
Okay. If you had an opportunity to improve the program, what would you suggest? What message would you give to the government saying, here are some opportunities to make it a better opportunity?
You know what? I wouldn't actually do that for this one. I feel like what they've created, pushing back on if it's the best thing possible, wouldn't be the best use of our energy. Instead, we should take what they've created and say, okay, let's go for this. But at the same time, because we're all going to be working together and talking and creating a type of proposal of what we can execute, we'd be able to then have that proposal to pitch to the different ministries to say, hey, this is what the Black business organizations that support Black entrepreneurs, this is what we're able to execute. And now we can do unsolicited proposals to fill those gaps that this program won't execute. And I'm glad you asked that question, because it's the same thing with the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund. That only tackles a certain segment of Black entrepreneurs' needs. And so there's a bigger spectrum and there's more gaps. So yeah, we can badmouth the program because it doesn't help everybody, or we can understand that program is a specific segment and hey, it'll do good for those that fit it. But we also have to look at additional support to fill in the other gaps. So don't bash what exists, like actually present what is missing, and then the government should be willing to listen and say, okay, yeah, that only helps a certain amount of people. We now need to figure out how to support the rest, and we can come to the table with those proposals and not waiting for the government to figure out how to support Black entrepreneurs, because this is what you get. You
Yeah.
get the Black Entrepreneurship Program that will only help maybe 5% of Black entrepreneurs, and you have to deal with it because they're not willing to negotiate how to use those funds. And they've said that point blank. So your initial question about should we push back and see how we can improve the current program, I feel like would be a waste of time because they're very rigid when they announce the programs that, like when it's announced, it's set. Like there's no going back to the table and redesigning it. You have to kind of take what they give. They should have been asking questions months ago from the Black community that might have helped with the design of this digital adoption program, but I feel like that window is closed. At least that's my experience with government.
Okay. Cool. We are live with Ryan Knight of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network as he's in transit to AfroFest. We're just catching up on whole area of Black entrepreneurship in Canada, Black business in Canada, funding, grants, all that kind of stuff. So Ryan, you have put out some interesting articles over the last few months that have made you a LinkedIn star about some of your concerns about these topics. I don't know if everyone has read them, but would you kindly give us an overview of your thoughts and any potential concerns you have of what's going on when it comes to funding?
So I guess the article that got the most traction was talking about the cash propaganda that the government uses when addressing the Black community. Because if you look at, and I'm just observing, it's not an opinion, it's an observation. It took 9 months for the Black Entrepreneurship Program to announce when they were going to accept applications for entrepreneurs. And so when I talk about who's benefiting, I'm looking at the Black entrepreneurs that the program was built for versus everybody else. So in September of 2020, you saw a grand announcement. Everybody was at X House in downtown Toronto, and prime ministers there, ministers are there. It's a big to-do. And so who benefited from that? I would say the Liberal government got a big pat on the back. Everybody's excited. A few months later, no programs announced. They started doing consultations. They're extracting information from the Black community again. They create a report that says what people wanted to see with the Black Entrepreneurship Program. That report was almost entirely ignored. And like you said, like that's why I was saying before, when the program is announced, there's really no opportunity to change it because the reports that they created from their own consultations had different answers than what they announced, and they chose not to change the program. So then they did another announcement saying like, hey, FACE is created, FACE is going to be adjudicating, it's Black owned, Black organizations came together and created FACE. The federal government is there again to get a lot of kudos, pats on the back. And then in May 31st, they have another press conference. Prime Minister's there again, Minister Ng, Greg Fergus, all like everybody gets pats on the back. Hey, the applications are open now, FACES accepting applications. So between September 2020 and May 31st, 2021, and actually through June, because somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, I have not heard of one dime going into a Black entrepreneur's bank account from this program. If that is wrong, you can let me know, but you could even look. FACE has a PR company. I don't think it's Black run. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So the companies that the organization is even spending money with are not Black entrepreneurs, because that would have proven me wrong. That would have been like, hey, at least we're spending money in the Black community. That's entrepreneurs getting support. But again, that's separate from the actual program. So the program itself, the people that have benefited the most has been the government. And that to me is a problem because like the program is for entrepreneurs. There was no short-term strategy. There's only a long-term strategy. And that long-term strategy there's been issues with its rollout. And those are just facts. And when people call me and they're like, oh, why are you trying to rock the boat? Why like talking bad about FACE. I was like, I haven't said anything about FACE. All I've talked about is the government process, and the process is benefiting the government more than it's supposed to benefit the people that it's built for. And nothing changes the facts. 9 months have passed. No entrepreneurs have gotten any support, any money, period. Like there's no debate with that. So going forward now, we can see, hey, maybe we can do better. June, hey, we're assessing applications. Great turnout, over 14,000, I think maybe even 15,000 by now have created accounts in the FACE program, the Bobby platform. How many people will get through? Hey, that would definitely create a bottleneck. Be patient, let them go their course and adjudicate the applications and see who's qualified to get the money. But now their own program was launched in reverse because the loan program was supposed to build off of the ecosystem fund. And the ecosystem fund, they took in applications in December of 2020 and still have not made a decision on what organizations are going to run this ecosystem. So what is the ecosystem supposed to do? The ecosystem is supposed to support Black entrepreneurs to be ready to take on capital. And hey, it would also assess to see what capital do they need. Maybe they don't need a term loan. Maybe they need an operating line of credit. Maybe they need a grant. Maybe they need investment from an angel or VC, or maybe they need crowdfunding, like all those different types of capital. The ecosystem would be able to work with an entrepreneur to coach them to see what is best based on the stage that you're in. So instead, for some reason, they didn't decide to make a decision on who's going to run the ecosystem. They force out the loan program. And now let's run some numbers. 15,000 entrepreneurs have gone onto the portal and made an account. That's facts, data. They're very proud of that. Sure. How many of those entrepreneurs would be completely stellar and able, like their business plan is on point, cash flow projections on point, their business concept is on point, they have the right credit score, right net worth, and would go through the program? I will be very generous and say 10%. So if 10% go through and they get the funding, whatever they ask for, you now have 13,500 Black entrepreneurs that do not qualify right now that are in limbo. There's nowhere to send them. And if they just launched the program as they announced it, the ecosystem would be in place for those entrepreneurs to now go to and say, listen, your application is not ready for funding yet. Work with the ecosystem. We're going to point you to XYZ organization. They're going to help you get to that baseline. And then boom, you come back and your application will be approved. That is the lay of the land. And people try to argue with me that like the program is good. That has not been proven. You can't tell me it's good because you feel good. I'm an entrepreneur that is in the program process as well. I've applied for the Futurepreneur, our new Black entrepreneurship program. And it's funny because the Futurepreneur program, they were selected to create a Black entrepreneurship program. Okay, why were they selected? Nobody knows, because they don't have a great track record with the Black entrepreneurship community. And when you ask them, they have not been tracking data, so they can't argue otherwise. So now they're chosen. I think about 1,000 people applied so far or are going through the process, but 15,000 registered for FACE. So why did the other 14,000 not register with Futurepreneur? Clearly, there's a problem there, but still, Futurepreneur was selected to get millions upon millions of dollars to create a Black program. Who's making these decisions? Like nobody is asking questions.
What is the status of this program and who's in charge of it?
Oh, so they hired, I think, 16 Black representatives. They have a Black woman that's running the program. And my pushback was, yeah, if I got $1 million, I could hire 16 people too. So it wasn't like what they put in place was like taking their old program and putting a black label on it and saying like, now we have a black entrepreneurship program because we hired black people. That is not how it works. And whoever is coaching them that this is how you support the black community, that advice is flawed. And we need to be able to talk to the right people making these decisions so that the right programs are put in place. Exactly like you said, the program gets announced and there's no way for us to then improve it, you know, like, but if we were part of the design, it would roll out better. But then we just get told, okay, this is what we're doing for black people, deal with it, and you're welcome. So, like, well, what can we do with that? Like,
Yeah.
we're in a position that we really have, they're not empowering black entrepreneurs. They are babysitting us. They are treating us like a charity case. They're saying like, oh yeah, look at the black procurement pilot program. They select 12 bids for black entrepreneurs. How did they select these 12? I don't know. You ask the question, so how successful was this program? How many people applied? How many people even went to the landing page? How many people downloaded the bid? Who got stuck? Who actually finished their application and submitted? Who was even just interested? There's a way to show that you're an interested bidder. I went to all 12 and I counted 8 people, 8 businesses, and 4 of them weren't even black. So, and then they had to extend the program because not enough people applied. So what are you guys doing to actually let people know it exists? How are you coaching people to get their applications in? These are standard fundamental questions, and they're not ready to answer them because they don't create the programs with the black community. They've somehow, I don't know who gets paid, but I know they get paid good money to work in government office. Somebody is a few, I'm sure there's a couple people, maybe even a full team that is in charge of the black file, the black entrepreneurship
Yeah.
file, and they sit there and they say, you know what we should do? We should do a black pilot program, and we should do a survey to find out how black entrepreneurs are struggling dealing with federal procurement. And, so, and then they're excited. They launch it with smiles and they send you emails saying like, oh, we're doing this survey. You're gonna get this data. But I'm like, you guys already know there's a problem. You created a pilot program because there's a problem with black entrepreneurs doing business with the government. Your survey is just gonna say the same thing. But now we're wasting time. So don't send me no survey because we were at the round table where we told the minister, and then direct, like, this is a problem in the black community that your government should be focused on. And I thought, and maybe that's my naivete, is I thought the roundtable and these discussions were part of us helping to design a program to help black entrepreneurs acquire procurement and get contracts. Since that roundtable, I have not heard a peep. So maybe I wasn't invited to the follow-up sessions. I don't know, because I could be blackballed. But they're doing things without asking.
Do you feel that, only speculation here, there is a lot of speculation, an election is coming up. Do you think this is election based?
Well, let's look at some data. The research comes out. The research, the call for, oh my gosh, the request for inquiry or something. So they're doing a survey. The due date for the survey was November 30th. Why is it taking you from June to November to do a survey that has like 10 questions? And like, and it, oh no, actually we'll change it to July 30th. Because that question that you just asked, the deadline for the survey proves that this is not a priority. It proves that they're trying to wait us out to make sure that, hey, show the community that we're working on it so that we'll vote for them again. because if we don't vote for them, then all these programs that we're working on, they're going to disappear if the conservatives or the NDP get in. That's the
Quid
narrative
pro quo.
and
Quid
that's where,
pro.
why are we locked in? I'm shocked that the conservative government hasn't called the Black community to a table and said, yo, we can beat what the liberals put on the table. Like, what the liberals put on the table is peanuts. 291 million in the grand scheme of things is not a lot of money. I feel like the conservative government could step in and blow the liberal program out the water, and that would shift a lot of votes. But again, if the conservative government is not willing to do that, then the Black community is locked into what they've already committed to. So whose fault is that? Jagmeet Singh, hey, you were willing to do a roundtable when Justin Trudeau got caught with blackface. How about do a roundtable and see how you can support Black business? What's your plan? I haven't seen a plan from the NDP, the Green Party, or the Conservatives about how they would support Black entrepreneurs and actually empower our community economically so that we can also support each other and support the other pillars of the community, whether it's health, justice, social, and education. Like, there's a lot of things that can really amplify what we're trying to do as a community if we get our economics right. And I have not seen any plan from any other party yet. So if everybody's gearing up for election, put that on in your talking notes, I would think.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's complex. So obviously you feel like the government could be doing more. Ryan, do you think the government should be doing more?
Well, that's their whole role in society, is to make sure that all elements of all community, like Canada-wide, is operating optimally. But instead, they just try to manage the chaos. So whatever is happening, like, how can we make sure people are okay, that they don't rebel and revolt and we don't lose their vote, instead of thinking about what can we actually do to empower our citizens. The government has created no program ever that has empowered the community to do for themselves. They've only ever created programs that make the community dependent on the government programs. And we've done the research over the past 50 years. If you read the Black Empowerment Manifesto, you can see all the studies, all the reports that have already been done, whether it's the Human Rights Commission, it could be a premier, it could be a federal initiative, it could be a liberal, conservative, NDP. We have been researched to exhaustion. And every single time the government comes up with the solution that we need to fix anti-Black racism. Anti-Black racism that type of program does not empower the Black community, because it actually rehashes our position of inferiority. And then it makes us try to beg to those that are racist to be anti-racist. Whereas if you created a program that empowered the community to do for self, then it wouldn't matter who's racist. We would have our own resources. If we had our own bank, it doesn't matter how racist CIBC or TD or RBC is, we're going elsewhere. If we had our own hospitals, it doesn't matter how racist any hospital that you go into that doesn't believe you that you have sickle cell, you have your own hospital to go to. It doesn't matter that the police are racist, because we would have our own first response units. These are things that nobody is thinking about, and definitely not the government. So it's not even that they need better programs. They actually need a whole better philosophy. Yes.
Well, as we wind it down here, Ryan, question for you. Do you have hope?
Oh, absolutely. if I'm breathing, there's hope. If any of us are breathing, there's hope. We can always do better.
What do
And so
what do Black Canadians need to do? What are some of the things in your opinion?
it starts with that collaboration. And I'm hoping this project can be a program or be a linchpin that at least allows us to start talking to each other. And then once we start talking to each other, we will start working together. We will start having ownership of what infrastructure we need. And then we will do for self.
Well, there's another support here, BLPR, Black Leopard PR. As long as there is life, there is hope.
100% agree.
I think we need to talk with each other, not at each other. And we have to let the egos out of the room. Get your egos off, pull your ego face off, and we have to think about collaboration. And it's a whole other conversation in itself. Well, it's going to be interesting to see. We're halfway through the year, and has a lot changed. And if there is an election, what impact is this going to have in the funding getting out to different organizations?
And that's a question that we definitely have to ask. It's like, if an election happens, does that freeze all the programs?
If it does, oh my. So, Ryan, I know that you have taken time out of your Sunday, and I know you're at an event. So what I'll let you do is you just want to finish it up. Any closing comments and how people can contact you?
Yes, absolutely. Add me to WhatsApp 647-225-3309 or email me ryan.knight@acbncanada.com. And again, if you know people that run organizations that should be part of this conversation, please check me on LinkedIn, Ryan Oneil Knight, and then I'll send you the invite for July 28th so that these are organizations that are supposed to be supporting Black entrepreneurs can get together and start collaborating. And this will be the first of many projects that we can do as a collective.
Well, Ryan, as always, thank you for everything that you have done, are doing, and will be doing to help, especially Black Canadian entrepreneurs and Black Canadian businesses, profits and not-for-profits. Just another thing, you can catch Ryan and myself Monday and Friday mornings on the Morning Vibe. We do a morning conversation. Sometimes just between him and myself. A lot of times we have a lot of people who are in Black Canada who are doing incredible things out there. So Ryan, as always, thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy Afrofest. If you see the organizer, please tell him I say hello.
All right. Yes, we bump into Peter for sure. But
All right.
Thank you again. So we'll talk soon.
Take care.
Later.
So there we have Ryan Knight. Definitely, if you want to get in touch with him, contact him. Him and I are on, as I said, Monday and Friday mornings on where you're watching now. I'd like to say thank you for everyone who took time to watch this live or on the replay. We've had BLPR and EJ Holder. Thank you very much. And everyone else, it's appreciated, not taken for granted. As always, I'd like to end off my conversations with this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And remember to give yourselves grace. So you have been watching Black Canada Talking on Sunday afternoons, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific Time, and we showcase Black Canada and Black Canadians. So God bless, peace to all, keep the faith, and walk good, and we'll see you on the digital airwaves. And remember, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe channel on YouTube and on Facebook, and also provide feedback. Thank you very much. God bless, peace to all, keep the faith, and have a great day.